Travis, David, thank you so much for joining, for being a part of the Champ Group, for coming and joining me for this fireside chat. Maybe to start off, would love to get a little bit about your background, and your roles at CarolinaPower and PPC, and a little bit about the company, and dig it from there.
Okay.
So Travis.
Yeah, man, appreciate being here. This is a good experience. So I've been with CarolinaPower for 20 years. I started off as an APM, worked my way up as a project manager, to a branch manager now, to senior vice president, so overseeing the whole CarolinaPower division of PPC Partners. So CarolinaPower is one of 5 companies within PPC Partners we have in our group that ranges all the way from Wisconsin to Florida. And then David here is from our People Automation group.
Yeah.
It's based out of Wisconsin.
David Makowski, Director of Operations for the Wisconsin Automation Group, or the center I run. Started almost 6 years ago now with the organization. Was hired as an engineering manager, and 6 months later was promoted to branch manager, which is now Director of Operations. So it's been a pretty exciting and quick path. So automation, we actually have more of a breadth than just Wisconsin, so we also go down into the Carolina. We're working on getting into the Carolinas area, and we have an office in the Atlanta, Georgia area as well. Primarily, I shouldn't say primarily, half and half engineering and field people, if you want to think about that. So Travis has come from the world of, the contractor world, of electricians, that we have half and half.
And yours, your low voltage or technology group? Or no?
Actually, no. So yes, primarily, right? Control systems are typically low voltage, but we just got done with a massive between 600 and 240 volt project that was $6 million of just automating motor controls.
Okay.
So we play in that low voltage. Still would be considered low voltage by industry standard, but we play in that field as well. So
got it.
We do design.
So you're doing a lot of factory automation or stuff like that as
Industrial
well.
Factory automation is our primary.
That's the core business.
Line. Yeah.
Got it.
And that expands into the design group. We have a panel shop that builds control panels. We have a machine safety group that will do risk assessments, mitigation, and validation of machine safety. So that hasn't been a big thing in the U.S. It's gaining a lot of traction, and I would say we are one of the leading companies for doing that right now.
Great.
From the automation spectrum.
Yeah. So a lot's changed. Like we talked about it earlier this morning, a lot is going on in the industry. We're in the era of these hyperscaler projects, labor shortage in electrical that I've never seen in my lifetime. What are you guys seeing out there? Is it impacting your business? Is it helping you grow? Creating other constraints?
So we look at it at 2 levels. So up north, and also in different locations, they're welcoming, and some are pushing data centers out. So a lot of the political aspects and the policies determine in our different geographical locations or cities what we go after. So I'll talk about the South, and then David can talk about the North. So in the South, we're not going after the hyperscale data centers because of being a merit shop and the amount of manpower that they pull. We're being selective. So we're going through some of the smaller data centers, some of the design build data centers, because as you said, they'll pull 200 plus electricians. They could, pull multiple locations, their whole staff. And so we'll be selective of that because we have market share and we have customers that if we pull all our resources and go do some of these hyperscale data centers, and when those data centers leave, we're going to be backfilled, right? And so we don't want to lose that, but we also want to take advantage of the data center piece. So we utilize our traveling industrial group to do the data centers and partner with our local group. And it's all about project selection. Which is one of the reasons that the RIVET tool is very helpful, because in that prospective projects that we use, we'll enter in a big project like that and then see, okay, what's the manpower pool going to be? What backlog do we have? What commitment do we have? And that helps us with that project selection, right? Because of course you want to go do the big jobs, especially if you have an in route. You don't want to turn it away, but you also don't want to do something that's detrimental a couple years down the road.
Yeah, you brought up something that is like one of the core conversations going on right now in the industry is when you take on these jobs that can consume your entire workforce, what happens to your core customer base, right? And like, how do you still serve them without and take on these and grow and take on these projects? Because again, that is the fear across the industry is, we make ourselves into a data center contractor, then all of our customers are going to move on because they still need someone to, wire their buildings, right? And someone else is going to fill that need if we don't, we stop serving them. So yeah, that's an interesting. That is definitely a very interesting angle, and it's good to hear you talk about it because it's like I keep hearing it over and over and over again. It's a common theme in the industry, and it's like most acute within electrical, because the data centers are just so much electrical work, right? Like so much electrical scope, like more than anything else.
And I've talked to a contractor out in Texas, and they went all in on the data center scope, and they said, yeah, we give up the hospital work and everything else and let other people fill in that void. So they strategically went that direction, and we're trying to balance that. So the way we're diversified north and south, the diversified in markets is because, if our Department of Defense group or a healthcare group, which we've had in the past, that spending goes down. Well, you have something else to fall back on. So we didn't want to be that dependent, but we do have some very large. So as a stockholder of the company, I want us to do data centers. And up north, we've completed some large data centers, and in that area, they're very welcoming to the data centers. So they're helping them with the land acquisitions and the power consumption and all that good stuff. And so it's been really good for us. We've completed some of the hyperscales. We got some in the queue to do some more, and also we're leveraging our prefabrication and modernization, that whole construction services group, to help us get even more into it, just strategically. And I don't know if you want to add anything else to the hyperscalers up north.
Yeah, I mean, we just finished a large, I want to say at the peak it was 600 electricians on board for that project, and we were able to do it without the effect that you say is a concern, right? Somehow we made it through that, and then I say somehow, but we had a pretty good plan at it. In the north, we're union, so we were able to use our union resources to pull together the workforce that we needed for it. But that was probably not probably. It was the largest single project that PPC has ever taken on, and we did it successfully, on time, safely, with no hang-ups throughout the project. So we kind of got that first hyperscale, and it was a huge one under our belt, and now we can share, our findings with the South and that, and say, hey, if you want to take on something a little bit bigger, we've been through this, right? We know how to do it. We've successfully managed it.
Yeah, that one project was double the size of my operating business, if that tells you anything.
Right. So. Big jobs. Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen now projects that are like 1,500 peak electricians.
It's insane.
And but they're like, they're campuses. There's multiple buildings, but still 1,500. Like, wow.
Oh yeah.
Like it's unreal. You said something earlier about about again like projections, being able to look out and again be not careful but measured, right, at the work you're going to go after. Do you think has Rivet helped? Is that one of the reasons why you chose to work with us, or maybe what was the underlying reason you guys chose to partner with Rivet?
So at first it was the manpower scheduling component, right? Because we looked for years of trying to find a software that would schedule out manpower, and everything was more service industry. It was more a dispatch program. So everybody used their spreadsheets or their smart sheets, and so we did that for years. Got a random call that I decided to answer. I remember the day I was standing by the coffee pot, waiting on the coffee pot to fill up. A number came up, and I was like, I usually don't answer, right? But that day I did, and I cannot remember the guy's name. I've been trying to figure it out, and he was talking about Rivet and manpower scheduling. I said, okay, I'm interested. Then I said, well, let's set up a call. I want to see it. So I saw it. I saw the manpower scheduling component. I was like, man, this is like my spreadsheet on steroids, right? And so that's what first got me into Rivet. Well, then you got into the mapping view to be able to see where your people are located, because we're a people business. We really care about our people, and as we've grown, I used to know every person. Right. I know their name, most of the time their kids, or at least what their kids were in sports and that sort of thing, where they lived. Well, now as we've grown, I mean, I don't even recognize names, I don't recognize faces of people, but we can look on the map and say, okay, if a guy lives on one side of the city and we're sending him to the other side of the city, is there a way to get him on that side if there's a project? And so we've always done that mentally, but having the visual graph to be able to was a great selling tool when I saw that. And then we got to the forecasting piece, and that was just really, really a selling point of, oh man, we have another spreadsheet that we used to forecast, separate from our manpower scheduling spreadsheet. And so I said, man, this is taking like our 2 spreadsheets, doing way more than we could ever do with them. And then you add the communication piece on that too, where we've had gaps in that of communicating of where to go to, for a project when you're being transferred and that sort of thing. So that in a whole is what pushed us over to RIVET. But what I use the most is the forecasting piece. At my level of helping with the pre-construction and then overview of the company, it's a very useful tool.
Yeah, and we had an inbuilt tool in my division that we were using for the workforce planning, right? Scheduling and whatnot, and that broke at some point. We had tried some others. We'd started with Smartsheet, right? We'd moved on to Monday.com. That really wasn't a right fit. Meanwhile, the organization PPC had started looking into RIVET. We jumped in it, and everybody was nervous, right? We're switching again. We've switched 3 times in 1 year. I will say we were up and running in 2 weeks. I was impressed. Now, granted, we have a bunch of engineers, but we got in there. We got names entered in there. We got jobs entered into the system, from an import, and we were up and running, and we had our workforce scheduled. For the 3 months before that, we were dealing with something that didn't work, right? So it was like an instant launch into it. It had immediate impact. We could see what was important to us in the engineering side of the world. Those are salary people, right? So I need to keep them busy. I need to keep them billable. And if they're not on a job, that's going to be a problem immediately. And this allowed us to see that out in the future now. We knew when that was coming. Every morning I open the dashboard and I look at the dashboard and I just look for that. Is the chart above the line? Do we have, at least for the next 4 weeks, have forecasted work out there for the team? So I'm using it in a different way maybe than other organizations use it, but it's working. It's providing me that test that I can then say, hey, PMs, BD team, you need to go out and find something because I'm seeing the forecast of work for the team is falling. Right. So made a huge impact immediately.
Yeah, how has it helped with, you guys operate in many, many, many states, right? Like both in the Midwest and in the Southeast. Like, how has it helped with that?
So we haven't fully deployed it throughout the Southeast, but we're very close to doing that. So I'm really excited. But I really see that being able to help, especially our 2 sister companies in the South. Being, we're butted up against each other from the Carolinas to Georgia, Alabama, Florida. We overlap in some areas. Right, and so that's going to be useful. But what we've been doing in just the Carolinas now, so we got offices in Greenville, Columbia, Charleston, North Augusta, all within an hour and a half of each other. So there's projects that fall in between those. So having the visibility to say, well, God, you got a guy that lives right here that's in one branch that can come work on another project. So we've really been sharing the resources and using RIVET as a tool to give that visibility.
We have the automation as you mentioned before, 3 offices, right? And they're quite a distance from each other, but the resource managers, for lack of a better term, that direct those groups that we want to get assigned to work, they can all get on a call together, pull up RIVET, and see in a matter of seconds where do they have somebody maybe available to shift resources onto another project, right? That's been a game changer. Because before it would be that manager going talking to a bunch of people, can you go here, can you go there? It's at their fingertips now, and they can see each other's, right? So we're all in one instance so that they can see each other's workload as well and what the staff loading is. So it's been nice to collaborate on a tool that works for everyone and gives us that instant view into what we need.
What about working with our team? Like, I try to instill a good culture, right, in the company. Make sure everyone gives a shit. What's that experience been like for you guys working with our team?
I'll say pretty tremendous from the standpoint that I believe we were the first ones trying to use the tool in the manner we were.
Yeah, you might be, yeah.
And there wasn't like, nobody ever said this isn't what we are. This isn't what Rivet is. It may not work for you. There was none of that. There was always listening to understand what is it we're trying to accomplish, and will the tool work, or does Rivet need to make a little tweak for us to make it work?
Yep.
So very cooperative. Always got the right people on the phone call, I felt, or on the meeting, right? When we were diving into maybe something that was a little deeper, we're doing a lot of data transfer work now that we're trying to work on to make things automatic, so it's not a lot of manual entry from our team, right? Everybody's been super cooperative as we work on it internally and figure out how to get the data to the Rivet team more fluidly, and then giving us feedback on maybe how we could even save money and not have to duplicate efforts and things of that nature. So I can't see anything negative about it. The monthly touch bases that we have to make sure we're on track, the pushing us to maybe train more of our team. Outside of my team, the adoption in the north has been scattered.
Yep.
We don't have everybody on board. As Travis said, it's still growing through the organization, but our goal is to eventually have all the teams in there, so we'll have that visibility all across the board.
Yeah. What about your experience?
Man, I think they've been great. So I'm the executive sponsor, and it's something I'm passionate about. And we set up an internal core team, and David's leading that internal core team to get more people involved with it. Because, like I said, like David said, we're using it at different capacities at different locations. But the team has been very open. It's not pushy, because some software companies are pushy, or it seems to be all about a sale, right? And that doesn't seem to be that way. And we've dealt with multiple people too. It's not just one person, and they're just super helpful. And so you can tell they care. So I think that goes back to your culture, and then also it's been cool, running into you and getting to meet you, and then hear your story of how you started from a basement, and to me, being able to relate to that, like, that's pretty cool. I love your vision. I think the software is great, and so, like I said earlier about our company, we're a people business. And it's the same thing. We do business with people.
Yes.
Right, and so being able to interact and build relationships, and being able to, if there's an issue, feel open enough to complain about it and know that we will be heard and listened to. It might not be solved immediately, but that you're there to say, hey, what can we do to help? So we really appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that. And yeah, business is a people business. The construction industry is a people business, so we're a people business. And so it's important that we, do what we say we're going to do, and everybody shows up and cares, and we certainly try to. So again, it's always good to hear that that's what's happening on the other side. But what do you think the biggest impact has been so far? You kind of talked already about, the impact on your group, but so you're mostly using it for forecasting today, right?
Right now, the biggest impact now, because we have not done the rollout,
right?
And that's because trying to adopt it a bigger way for the whole company. It's a bigger ship to steer, and with a lot of software fatigue, it's been a little slower rollout than we would like, but nothing to do with Revit. Y'all are working on some of the things we want to get ironed out before we roll out, because we have learned from all these software rollouts, don't roll out too soon. Right? And so we're to that point. I think in the Southeast we can roll that out, and then roll it out up through the North as well. The biggest thing we've got advantage of it is the project selection. So you can enter the prospective job, and within like 2 minutes, and then we can see graphically, because you get a gut feel of, this job fits. Like, it starts in the third quarter, it's going to be backlogged for the following year. But being able to physically see that on a graph has been super helpful. So I use that a lot. Even though we hadn't rolled it out, my team knows, and we look at the forecast on large project selection.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm told we're out of time here, so again, thank you so much for joining me in the fireside. Thanks for being a part of the Champ program. And we didn't get a bourbon right here by the fire, but we'll have a bourbon later tonight. So
okay, I'll take you up on it, but I'll get a tequila instead.
You can have a tequila instead. That's all right.
I'll take you up on the bourbon.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Yep.